Okay, before we start kind of today's little lesson, this lecture shouldn't be too long. If it is, I will need to edit it down. But before I start, I just wanted to go over some more terms, more vocabulary. Like I've said, I've really tried to stress that this entire semester so far, which has been like 4 weeks. But I always want to keep stressing vocabulary because it's one of the most important things. So the first one, PKG, that stands for package. And a package is the best way to think about it, the whole package. It's voiceover, it's videos, it's interview quotes, and it's some sort of reporting done off site. So this is something that the anchors recorded or reported on before that. So the next term that we want to learn is VO, or voiceover. As we know, it's very common, especially in sports, when they're showing footage of players and they're talking over it. But a voiceover is any sort of footage that we have that we didn't make fully into a package, but that we just want to talk over. We see this commonly when in the news, if there's some sort of police report, or if there's police cars or fire trucks or paramedics on scene at a site, reporters will go, they'll get a few quick shots, and then as the story develops, they'll talk over it later that evening. So that's what the VO stands for. So RDR, that's not a cue that you'll see, but that's what we say is a reader. And a reader is anything when you see a massive block of text in your script and they're just reading it. There's no video, there's no picture, there's no graphic. It's just the anchor looking at the camera, telling you the full story. That's what's called a reader. It's annotated as RDR. SOT, or SOTs, which stands for sound on tape, is basically a quick little interview. And these interviews are usually pretty short, less than 20 seconds. But again, if we go back to our example that we used with the VO, if let's say there was a police car or a fire truck on campus, maybe we wouldn't have enough time to get a full in-depth package with multiple interviews. What we would do is a VO SOT, where we would combine our VO and our SOT. So we'll get some footage of the police car on campus, we'll get the sirens, and then maybe we'll talk to the PIO or somebody on the scene who saw what happened, and we'll combine that together. But a SOT is essentially just a quick little interview. It's used to add more color and depth to a story that we wouldn't have had time to get. FS stands for full screen. So a full screen graphic is just something that we're putting over the anchors as a still. It's most commonly seen in sports, but we've been seeing a lot more in news with the coronavirus, as we know, because more cases are moving. So we'll see these massive bar charts where they're tracking the cases, and that's a full screen graphic. Ad-lib is annotated exactly as that, and an ad-lib is where the anchors are cross-talking with each other. They're trying to look natural, it's supposed to be more candid, and they're really just talking about their subject and really just being themselves. Whenever we see ad-lib in the script, it's always good to note that, because you need to know that as the director, because an ad-lib can go on for as long as they want. And we have to be the ones to tell them when to cut it off. A great example of this is in sports. They ad-lib after, let's say they just watched a great play between two teams. Both the anchors might start ad-libbing about that afterwards. So as the directors, we're going to have to cut them off eventually, because they could talk about that for as long as they want, and we only have a certain time. So when I see ad-lib in my scripts, I mark it so I know there's an ad-lib, and I'll be kind of working with my crew to be like, okay, we're in ad-lib right now, get ready, let's see if they're winding down, and then we'll cut to our next thing. Lastly, of course, is DDR and ME. So DDR, remember, that's in TriCaster. So that's the A and the B, DDR1 and DDR2, those are the buttons we press to roll any footage. So that's where all of our VOs, packages, SOTs, and full screens will live. Now I put ME on here as well because those are the two keys next to DDR, and they're also titled Weather A and Weather B. We use ME, or mixed effect, to key the green screen. So when you're writing out the script, especially as we'll see in weather, you'll have to mark what's in DDR and what's in ME, so you know, okay, let's take A, ready up A DDR, and then let's go back to B ME or something like that, so we can swap between it, so we're not seeing our anchor in front of this footage that they filmed today, because that just looks weird. We only want to see the anchor over their graphics and what they're talking about, looking at the maps and pointing to that. We want to see their footage full screen. We don't want to see them walking around or standing in front of their footage on green screen. Sweet, so those are all the terms that we'll need to learn for this assignment, and in this next part, we'll be going over how to mark up some scripts, and then I have a brief little assignment that we can do at home.